You don't exist. Like, you're even lower than the Jews. A, you're black, and B, you're gay.
Welcome to your Racist of the Week update with me, Reese Waters. Now, we come here every week in order to expose the stupidity and the hypocrisy of discrimination in order to build a more perfect union and also laugh. I would like to thank today's sponsor, Racism. Now, there's been so many stories that we've done that now we're starting to have updates and changing and evolution in some of the stories that we covered. So I thought I would take the time to update some of the previous entries that we've had right here in Racist of the Week, starting with Julianna Margulies. Yeah, you remember when Snakes on a Plane actress Julianna Margulies lost her whole ass mind and spewed unbelievable racist hate on Backroom with Andy Ostroy? Yeah, well, the host remarked that, quote, people hate Jews, talking about the anti-Semitism as it pertains to the Israel-Hamas war. And Margulies, well, she took the ball and ran with it and then fumbled repeatedly.
In the civil rights movement, the Jews were the ones that walked side by side with the blacks to fight for their rights because they know. And now the black community isn't embracing us and saying, we stand with you the way you stood with us. Jews died for their cause. Where's the history lesson in that? Who's teaching these kids? Because the fact that the entire black community isn't standing with us, to me, says either they just don't know, or they've been brainwashed to hate Jews. There was a film being shown by this black lesbian club on Columbia campus, and they put signs up that said "No Jews allowed." And as someone who plays a lesbian journalist on the morning show, I'm more offended by it as a lesbian than I am as a Jew, to be honest with you, because I want to say to them, you fucking idiots. You don't exist. Like, you're even lower than the Jews. A, you're black, and B, you're gay. And you're turning your back against the people who support you.
Naturally, the heat came for Julianna and not the group in question. I mean, that's normal. You were a guest star on Homicide: Life on the Street, for goodness sakes. But they both did have something to say. Now, the Columbia University student group in question, Lionless, issued a statement clarifying their position. They deny anti-Semitism, saying that there was an email that was sent out that said no Zionists allowed, a distinction between criticizing the political ideology of Zionism and targeting Jewish people at large. The Columbia Spectator reports that Lionless internally considered the email and social media posts about Zionism, which were written by a former president, to be inappropriate. Lionless's statement emphasizes their opposition to all forms of discrimination, including anti-Semitism, Zionism, and other systems of oppression. Julianna Margulies, by the way, apologized for offending the black and LGBTQIA people, stating, quote, I am horrified by the fact that statements I made on a recent podcast offended the black and LGBTQIA plus communities I truly love and respect. She said this in a statement to Deadline and the Washington Post. She also said, I want to be 100% clear. Racism, homophobia, sexism, or any prejudice against anyone's personal beliefs or identity are abhorrent to me, full stop. However, she hasn't commented on Lionless's statement clarifying their position, and I do think that's one apology that should be as loud as any other, since she singled them out and tried to assassinate the character of the entire group. Now, speaking of apologies, quote, I sincerely apologize to the Jewish community for any unplanned outbursts. It was not my intent to hurt or disrespect, and I very much regret any pain I may have caused. One guess who wrote that. The impossible appears possible. It has happened. Kanye West has issued an apology. Yes, Kanye ended up apologizing for his outbursts on social media last year, also the posts and the rant. and the hood, which I did talk about right here. Now, as much as I want to support any effort to take our power back, it rings kind of hollow from somebody who claims slavery was a choice, the culture was asleep, and that white lives matter. When last seen, Adidas had to offload Yeezys at the gas station because of comments you made about Jewish people. So the next move is to go with a black hood. Got it. I don't know whether to shake my head on behalf of black people or white people. How about both? And he made his apology on his Instagram in Hebrew. Now that is serious. Now I'll admit it is a bit odd for somebody who seemed to court and welcome the idea that Jews controlled the world to apologize. I mean, any consequences you could be facing, you said you could foresee. It's right there in your own words. You said you couldn't be canceled. I guess by that logic, he actually might mean it. Nah, we can't even get a straight answer on when his next project is coming out. He is not to be trusted, not even about himself, especially about himself. Kanye made a business decision in a whole nother language. But he did get a lifeline from Katt Williams, though. I mean, kinda.
I suspect that we're pretty awful people if we say that somebody got a mental illness and then we watch what they do. If you say somebody got special needs, then why would you be watching them and holding them accountable like everybody else? Wouldn't you grade them on a curve? Wouldn't you go, whew, this guy? Because, I mean, what are we reacting to? What are we reacting to? You're the one that put him in a position where he thought he was God and could call himself Jesus. And you're the one told a guy that writes musical lyrics that he was a genius. Mm-hmm. You're the one that's like, so what do you expect? The guy married a whore. Like, what?
Oh, Lord.
Like, I didn't mean it like that. I mean, married her because she was one.
I mean, while Katt did call his ex-wife a whore, he also said we might be bad people for watching and following what he does since we've ceded that he needs help. And yes, that appears to be Katt Williams coming through with the sober take that we all needed. Let's end on a positive, kind of, sort of. You remember that guy in Illinois who got convicted thanks to a blind witness? No physical evidence connected Harris to the shooting, but the judge relied heavily on the testimony of an eyewitness, Dexter Saffold. Saffold, who claimed he saw the shooting from a distance of fewer than 20 feet while riding his motorized scooter home, identified Harris as the perpetrator, both to the police and at trial. Although Judge Ford regarded Saffold's testimony as credible and sentenced Harris to 76 years, shocking, and later emerged that Saffold had been declared legally blind by a doctor in 2002. Yes, no, not 2012, not 2022, but 2002, as in almost a decade before the trial. This Bama was legally blind for over 10 years, claiming he saw something. Also, what was he doing on a scooter? I mean, they should be arresting him because that sounds dangerous. I mean, he sounds like a menace. Well, Darian Harris has been freed. He's free. It's about time. His previous attorney discovered new evidence in 2018, but a review by the Conviction Integrity Unit initially found it inconclusive. Harris's lawyers filed a post-conviction petition highlighting evidence and constitutional violations. Cook County State's Attorney's Office decided not to retry Harris after reviewing the case again. I guess the DA saw the light. Now, 18 at the time of his arrest and conviction, 30-year-old Darian Harris spent 12 and a half years in prison. After years of appeals and investigations, prosecutors have dropped the charges and Harris was released. Mind you, this was the fourth wrongful conviction exoneration in Cook County in December. I'm gonna just run that back one more time. This was the fourth wrongful conviction exoneration in Cook County in 1 month, raising all sorts of concerns about the criminal justice system. Forget concerns, throw the whole thing in the trash and start over. Cousins James Soto and David Ayala, who were wrongfully convicted in the 1981 murder of 2 Chicago teenagers, were freed on December 14th after spending 42 years behind bars. Brian Beals walked out of prison on December 12th after being wrongfully convicted of a crime in 1988. Glenn Simmons, by the way, spent 48 years in an Oklahoma prison over a wrongful murder conviction before being exonerated last year. And as of December 13th, 19 individuals who spent at least 25 years in prison prior to exoneration were released in 2023. Now, Harris expressed joy and determination to rebuild his life after the ordeal, saying, "I finally made it. 12 and a half years, I made it. I missed some of my best years, but man, I'm finna live some good years now." Rebuild his life. The state needs to rebuild his life for him. Pay that man's bills for the next 12 and a half years. That's the least you can do after throwing him in prison for nothing. Now, I'm happy to bring you these updates. I'll be continuing to follow all of the stories that I've covered here in my Racist of the Week and continuing to update and keep you abreast of any changes there may be. And make sure you keep it locked right here to the channel at Reese Waters. Make sure you give me a like and subscribe so that you get notifications whenever the new videos come out. But we are right here every single Saturday with our Racist of the Week. Stay tuned.